下面呢，我们是要欢迎我们徐一山博士。徐一山博士呢是一位著名的加州临床心理学家，也是硅谷跨文化心理诊所13心理诊所 Mind and Body Garden Psychology 的创始人。他今天与我们分享的是压抑家庭中存在哪些压力源，如何应对这些压力，并保持良好的睡眠。大家都很对这个问题都非常的 concern， 因为睡眠是我们人生中1/3的时间哈。徐博士是美国行为睡眠医学学会认证的第一位华人睡眠心理学家。他目前呢还在进修美国的性心理治疗专科。他系统受训于美国斯坦福大学医学院睡眠科和凯撒医疗系统，创办有公益英文睡眠科普 podcast Deep into Sleep。由于时间的原因呢，徐山博士的分享将以 video 形式跟大家见面。Next, we have Dr. Yishan Xu. Dr. Xu sends her story in a pre-recorded video in which she talks about stressors of Asian families and how to have a good night's sleep. She's a licensed clinical psychologist, the founder and the director of our clinic, Mind and Body Garden Psychology, and the first board certificate Chinese English bilingual behavioral sleep medicine specialist in the United States. 下面我们欢迎许一山博士来给我们做这方面的分享。
Hello, my name is Yishan Xu. I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm working in San Francisco Bay Area right now. I am the founder of Mind Body Garden Psychology Clinic in the Bay Area, and we have about 20 different psychotherapists, psychiatrists, and speech therapists. Very happy that I have this chance to come here, share with you my observations about what Asian families are facing and what I have noticed, the challenges I have to deal with on a daily basis to help with my clients. So first, I want to explain and clarify that all the scenarios I'm sharing are reproduced based on a combination of different scenarios, either through my own and other people's clinical experience or through books. So it's not supposed to, it's all de-identified. So don't worry, it won't target or disclose any confidential client information. So all these are combined scenarios, just help us understand. First, I want to share what I have observed among Asian young professionals, because in my clinical work, a lot of Asian young professionals will come to us and seek help. Some of their problems are related to their work stress. Some of the problems are related to their romantic relationship problems. Some of this always somewhat related to their family relationship. It's all connected together, no matter what issue we are working on. I noticed the family impact always in the background, cannot be fully ignored. So there are several major things I have observed when I work with this population. First, romantic relationship. When young professionals come in to look for dating-related advice, they often come with some struggles that they may date someone and they may like a certain people, but their family may have a strong opinion towards it. Most time it's against it. So I have seen several cases like that. Young Asian population, when they enter their adulthood, they are trying to have a dating relationship, build a partnership with someone. Family permission is always in the picture. Sometimes, especially if the parents strongly against the partner choice, I often see a lot of conflicts, emotional conflicts, verbal conflicts, especially if these young people live with their parents or have frequent contact with the parents. Then the parents always have a lot to say about their dating partner. And often there are a lot of criticism, there's a lot of education to the person and try to help them understand they are making the wrong choice. Or even sometimes the parents may directly talk to the dating partner and tell them, hey, I don't like you dating my son or my daughter, and or we hope you can do what to become what in order to be a better partner for our child. So I think we can understand where the parents come from. It's come from some good intention to protect their children, but to the young people, it's quite a lot of emotional burden and a lot of frustration in the process and a lot of confusion, not know how to communicate with parents, and also not know whether it's still a good idea to keep this romantic relationship. Because a lot of people do respect their family, they do want parents to be happy and hold on a relationship when we try to figure out our own relationship, the same time try to figure out how to get blessing from parents. It's always such a struggle. So this is definitely one big issue I see often. Second big issue I see often is Asian young professionals sometimes have this a lot inside themselves. However, when they grow up, or when we grow up, our family culture, I know more about Chinese family culture since I grew up in China. A lot of Chinese families actually encourage emotion suppression. Sometimes this encouragement is very subtle. It comes across that this whole family just never really talk about emotions. When I work with Asian young professionals, sometimes we'll discuss, oh, I notice your emotional patterns like that. When you are sad, when you're struggling, you close off, you don't seek help from anyone else. How was that like when you grew up in your own family? How was it like with your parents? How did your parents express and cope with their emotions? You will be surprised when I ask this kind of questions, when I explore this. A lot of Asian young professionals would tell me that their parents never talk about emotions when they grow up, and their parents never show their emotions in front of kids when they grow up. So somehow they feel like, well, family is not a place to talk about emotions. And when I feel sad, when I struggle, I need to tough up, carry on. I should be able to handle this. I need to be strong, right? So they got this from parents, either through parents modeling this emotional suppression or through parents verbally educate the kids that you have to be a man, or you as an Asian you need to be tough, you have to get through this, it's nothing, see how my life is tough, I can get through everything, you can do this too, and you should do this. So a lot of Asian children got this kind of verbal education when they were younger, from parents, from other family members, and when they grow up, try to be tough. But our emotions are not something you can just suppress, and then it's gonna just be like that, naturally just disappear. It's impossible. So when we hold up and suppress our emotions too much, the problem is it's gonna eventually find a way to come out, gonna blow up at a situation, time, towards a person we don't want to. If we hold up too long, we're gonna lose control at some point and may hurt other people and may hurt ourselves somehow. We don't want to see that happening. But emotional suppression is very common among Asians. The third most common issue that I see is this helicopter parents. A lot of Asian young people really trying hard to be independent, try to move out of the household, move out of parents' house. Sometimes even that would be a struggle, especially in the Bay Area. The housing price is so expensive, and the parents would convince or try to persuade their children that don't move out, stay with us to save money. But then the independence is really hard to maintain when you live with your parents. So I see a lot of young Asians either try to fight for this physical independence, financial independence, or emotional independence. I see a lot of Asian young professionals, even they live at different locations or different cities from their parents, still they can feel the so-called helicopter parents controlling, monitoring everything they do, calling often or trying to know everything from everywhere, and also send a lot of orders and requests, criticism of their daily life. I see a lot of Asians, not only Chinese, I see Asians from different ethnicity background, sometimes really bothered by so frequent phone call requests from parents. I saw very extreme cases like several phone calls from parents, and you must answer. If not, it's gonna be a huge consequence. So think about when you have to do that, where can you find room, space for yourself to calm down, to do your own thing, to find peace in your own mind, especially if this kind of conversation is always not pleasant, always somewhat challenging and full of blame and criticism, or you're asked to do certain things, you got dumped on parents' negative emotions. All those frequent contact can be so difficult. So a lot of time when I work with Asians, I help them try to figure out what is the best way to negotiate a personal space to maintain a certain level of independence that is comfortable to them. So the fourth, the last major issues I have observed that I want to share today is this personal space and the lack of boundary, which is similar to the independence I'm talking about. But I want to make it very separated because it's boundary issue. I notice a lot of Asian families are not really strong at this boundary topic. So a lot of time parents will go into their adult children's room, and sometimes the young people have to super against it or say, no, please don't do that, you don't need to clean my room. But a lot of Asian parents are still doing that, so make the physical boundary really blur. And what was worse is if the parents go through the room and find something and then confront the young people to make them feel like, oh, I'm still a teenager, you're treating me like a teenager, I'm an adult right now. And also when people are trying to have friends, have dating relationship, this kind of lack of boundary can make it really hard for young people to try their own life out on their own. Parents always want to protect, but overly protect leave us no room to figure out life, to think through things on our own. So it's actually somehow deprived young people's sense of independence and learning process through life. So a lot of parents may not really realize it. And this emotional boundary also, sometimes parents see kids as only friend or only emotional support, would say everything, all the complaints in life to complaints to the other partner, to their children. And think about from younger people's point of view, you are both my parents, and now one parent always tell me about the bad things, how they don't like the other parents, right? Or they don't directly talk to each other, they talk through me. no matter how old I am, my parents are still doing this to me, then how do you feel? How do you think about that? It could be really difficult. Sometimes that leave no emotional boundary there and get young people really confused or frustrated. On top of that is our own life, right? We have to get through our life in a certain way. We have things we have to take care of, we have to do. And then parents are just, another layer of stress on top of it. So these are what I observed that challenges most Asian young professionals are facing. And then, since I only have limited time, let me share some very small, easy suggestions. Of course, this won't replace professional psychotherapy or professional help, but I want to give everyone some little tips that you can just use and do to help yourself out. First, try to set boundaries. How to set boundaries really depends on what you need. We all need to know or explore what our need is and what kind of space is comfortable to us. If we feel like the boundary is not good, something is too much, then what is more appropriate, more acceptable to us? Then after knowing our need, it's much easier for us to have communications with parents. And sometimes if the parents are not cooperative, we can even try to set boundaries from our end. At least when we have a boundary, other people cannot keep on pushing it that hard. If we don't have boundary, things just gonna keep on, getting worse, just like downward spiral. And then the second little advice would be, before we can do anything else, we need to understand ourselves. We need to know what our emotions are. You would be surprised. We think we are adults. We all know what emotions are. But when I work with a lot of people, not only Asians, when I work with a lot of adult clients, what I noticed is people actually are not familiar with our own emotions. And most people even cannot distinguish between thoughts and emotions. When I say, how are you feeling right now? People will say, oh, I think this way. I think I feel, or I feel what, but then what after I feel is actually a whole sentence. It's a thought. It's not emotion. And in my office, I have a poster with about 20 plus emotional words on there. A lot of adults, like 30 years old, 40 years old, from different cultural background would come and saw that and say, wow, I never know there's so many words can be used to describe emotions. Can I take a picture of it? I said, of course, take a picture of it. It's colorful, it's beautiful, it's with also little faces and little words. Please take a picture and be familiar with it. That help us be aware of our emotions and help us label our emotions, verbalize our emotions. The third suggestion would be, before we want to communicate with other people effectively or communicate with our other family members effectively, we need learn what is empathy. So we need to have empathy toward our own emotions. We also need to have empathy towards other people's emotions. Empathy can help us lay a really good foundation before we start talking to other people, talk to family members about our request, right? We have a need. We cannot just say it out loud. We don't want to blame other people. If they make us sad, we don't want to say, hey, you always do this. How you are so selfish. You never care about my feelings. That's not a good way of communicating, because when you say this, you only make the other party gets more defensive. They won't want to listen to you continuously. So when we want to really communicate, we need to know our own need, our own emotions, and we need to show some empathy to the other party. All these are good foundations. And then we can start practicing communication, especially practicing how to be assertive. In psychology, we talk about the different communication styles. You can be passive, you can be passive aggressive, you can be aggressive, you can also be assertive. And assertive is the most effective way of communicating. And how do you do that? Is to objectively describe the situation and describe my own feelings, show my empathy to you, and describe my need, what I would really appreciate if you could do exactly, right? Try to be concise, try to be concrete, so the other person know exactly what you need, and you say it in a way where with a lot of respect, and then the other party will appreciate that and be able to listen, finish listening what you want to communicate, and that's going to increase the chance of they really understand what you need and try to cooperate and meet your needs. So this communication style, we call it assertiveness, and need a lot of guidance and practice. So if as an Asian, I think we all face our own challenges. If any of the things I share you notice has become a challenge, has become a difficulty in your life, please seek some professional help wherever you are. Nowadays, psychological professional help are easy to find. So please find a locally licensed psychotherapist to help you walk you through some of these challenges. With the right guidance, I'm sure we can all recover in a much faster pace. But if we're just trying to tough up and suppress everything, handle everything on our own, sometimes it may become a long and painful process. So if you want to know more about what I do, I have a lot of free YouTube channel and podcast. I have a Chinese mental health podcast and YouTube channel called Yishan Shuo, Ask Dr. Yishan. I also have a sex education YouTube channel and podcast called Yishan Mitao Shuo. If you have sleep insomnia type of problem, you can listen to my English podcast, Deep into Sleep. I interview a lot of sleep specialists around the world. Thank you very much for having me today. Hopefully what I shared helped you clarify some pictures. There's hope, so never lose hope. Thank you. This is Yishan.